Welcome back to Panhandle Pulse. I got a great guest in Charles Wilson today. He is the pastor at the chapel at Crosspoint here in Gulf Place in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
We got introduced from Judson. He was on the show a few months ago. Tell us your story. How did you get to the Panhandle of Florida?
Like many other people, first vacation for years with our children. And when our careers came to an end, we decided to make this our permanent home. And, up until then, we grew up in Northwest Arkansas. Our family today spent all of our lives there, working life, professional life. Like many others, found the Gulf Coast calling us. So that's how we got here.
Okay. So you lived in the area for how many years now?
We came in 2005. Okay. We've been here 21 years.
Long time. So we've been here for 10. How did you get into ministry and find the church here?
So Cindy and I have worked in churches our entire life. And as with that matured in our life, I was asked to lead smaller churches that were having difficulties, and we were able to support our efforts through our professional careers, and did that on and off throughout our lives. So when we came here, our intention was not to be a ministry, was to actually retire. And a very dear friend of mine called Herschel Adam, and I still don't know how he found out I came. And anyway, called and said, there's this little church that is struggling. In fact, it looks like they're going to dissolve, and would you go and help them with that process? It's a sad process, really, when you think of a church losing the resources that it needs to move on. So I came and met with a small group, and when I say small, there was 8 people. To make a long story short, that wasn't what was in the stars for us.
Right.
But I explained it, and it grew traction and had an influx of people, and here we are. Yeah. So weeks ago, we had definitely remotely event. So that's a good story. The bleakest hours sometimes are just preparation for things that are coming.
Yeah, I always tell our son, I forgot we talked about that you go through valleys before the highs. It's a learning process. It's a part for you to grow and test your faith.
Growth usually doesn't happen in comfort.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So the process of coming, you started the church here. It's as you were saying, it's, I guess the land is pretty much owned already by the church before you came and shut it down. So how did you go about the process?
No, that is a great story within itself. This goes back 70 plus years. Dr. Spires, a physician in the Phoenix experience, helped a family. As I heard the story, the family was not able to, or didn't have the funds really, but they did have some resources to trade for his services. And it was a parcel of land in South Walton. 75, 80 years ago, this property was worth $1 an acre. Right. Which is not the case today. And so this property was gifted by Dr. Spires. He obviously a very visionary.
Yeah.
And probably in his own right saw that South Walton would at one time grow into a community, and he wanted a church here. So he gifted the land, and the church began in 1951 as the First Baptist Church of Santa Rosa Beach.
Wow.
And so that's it to beginnings. Yeah. And this first building was just a concrete structure. And then 15 years later, the sanctuary and the area we're sitting in was added. And that's the history of the building.
So when you came and you have a small group of people and you're in the process of trying to shut down the church or sell the church, how did that go until where we are today, where it's thriving and you found other churches coming here?
Well, when we first came in 2005, there was an effort maybe to revitalize the church. But then the recession of 7, 8, 9 came along, and in that this area is really service driven,
right,
to support tourism. And 7, 8, and 9 was not a good years to to be in that service. So a lot of people had to leave and go elsewhere for employment. But after that, we had the opportunity to help some other churches. Hope Lutheran Church was looking for a place to get on their feet. So they used our building. And through the years, we've had several churches use this sort of a launching pad for their work. The Watershed Church, where Walter Urey is their pastor. Apostles of the Seed, an Anglican church in Rosemary Beach, met here. Simple Faith met here. Calvary met here. The list goes on. I think there are total about 7 or 8 churches that have used this facility to come get on their feet until they can afford their own location, and to the leadership here who saw the church in its weakest moments, appreciated the help that came. And so we've always been able to lend a helping hand to others as they try to get on their feet as well. And that may be by itself one of the things that have made the chapel successful, that people are drawn to something that's good, and helping others is good.
Yeah.
And it's such a blessing to me personally to go to a pastor's meeting where there's a dozen pastors and 4 or 5 of them came out of here. We didn't support, but they used this as kind of a launching pad for what they have now.
Yeah, and I think it's an amazing story from a church background, from playing in church myself, going to different denominations of church, that you guys were open to using, providing to you as a blessing to other churches, to launch other churches, which most in today's world churches don't focus that way. And I think that's a huge stepping stone for you guys.
Well, and that's always been a mystery to me. Church is, of course, being Protestant, there for the spread of the gospel and how you use the gospel and apply it in your everyday life, regardless of what avenue of employment you're in. The principles and virtues of Christianity apply. And so that's in general. So why don't help people who are doing the same thing you are, and not letting the small things that somewhat divide denominations, not let that be your driving point, but the bigger picture is your driving point. And then if you seek to find something that's more agreeable with your doctrinal stance, then go find that.
But at least use that as a basis, like you guys did, as a playing point that it's open to spread the gospel, which is the main point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that has bled into the mindset of the people here, is that they're very open to helping other people. And, we have the traveling Vietnam Memorial Wall, for an example, needed a place to put up their display. And we worked with the Gulf Cemetery across the road to make that happen. So it's good having relationships inside the community, because that's where we live. Right? We want to benefit it, not be a distraction to it.
Yeah, and that's great. And you have a board that was open to see that.
We have a great board. Jim Adams is our chair, and he's not a lifelong resident, but been here many, many years, and he's a developer. Just a great, great leader. And the rest of the board as well, they have that mentality of we're in something bigger than ourselves. It's not about us. It's what we can do in behalf of our Lord for the community that we live in. And that seems to work real well.
Yeah, I think that's the main focus of the 5-point scripture, is to treat your neighbors as yourself and expand the community for the better, not focus on the negatives around it or continue with all that craziness that we're in now. And just in church, to me, is just as it says in the scripture, wherever 2 or more meet, God is present. So you guys are doing exactly that. And you told us before, Sundays are packed. If you don't come early, you don't get a seat, right?
That's a good reputation.
That's right. Yeah. And you guys sort of stay true to your service time. So you guys just do one service time, not expand behind that.
We start at 10, and I think from an external view, if you were standing on the front porch looking in, you'd say that's a very traditional church. And that I would say that's accurate. And that the music, if you've been in church a long time, you probably know, well, the songs that we use, you've heard them. In fact, on Sunday, many times I would just sit there and listen to the folks singing behind me because they're acquainted with what's happening.
Right.
And there's a comfort level. So yes, we would be considered a more traditional, conservative.
And so by expanding into allowing others to church to be used the church as well, you've actually also helped other nonprofits in the area as well through charity.
I've been on the board of several nonprofits in the area. One locally that just probably within a mile of here is Carry and Sharing. We've worked with them through the past, been on their board, and we support them financially. We also have a group of people that go over and help them put up food. Feed, I don't know that I have the words correct, but it's Feed the Gulf. They receive 2 truckloads of food. It's a semi-truck.
Yeah.
And so we have 12, 15 people who go over and put that food away so it can be put into smaller packages and delivered to the folks in the area. And Caring and Sharing does that to about 1,000 families a month. I'm on the board of the Crossroads Center, which is a medical and dental clinic. We provide free medical and dental to those individuals who qualify and who don't have access to medical and dental care. And we provided last year, I think this is right, $1.4 million worth of free care to the community.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You have, in my personal opinion, you have to treat a person holistically. I mean, if you're ill and what's on your mind is not pray.
Right.
I mean, the whole person is necessary to really function properly. And so a person who has an abscess tooth, what they are dealing with is the pain of that. And if we can relieve that some way, it lets them live a much better life. That's really been a blessing to me to work with that center. In fact, we're building a new building right now. It's debt-free. I prefer to do everything debt-free, just better economics.
The stress of continuing to worry about building and financing and where the next donation could come in.
Well, you never know what the economy is going to do.
Right.
And unfortunately, in the 7-8-9 recession and other slows in the economy, see churches struggle during that, especially when they have large debt service. And that keeps them from actually taking those funds and doing other things with them. I'd prefer to see what comes in go out and support other people or other organizations that are serving the community. We have several nonprofits that we support, not their entire operation, but support from our funds,
Correct.
Their operations.
Yeah. And you're saying that you guys do a Sunday or a weekend where the groups that you support come in and set up the tables and that job for you.
We have I guess call outreach Sunday, and we invite the people that we work with, that we support and work with, to come and set up a table display of what they do. And it gives our people an opportunity. If you come in and you sit in the queue, you see this.
Right.
But it's a benefit to go into the fellowship hall and meet people that all this supports.
Yeah.
And get to talk to Vanessa about the clinic. Tell me about the clinic. I've got a neighbor. Maybe they need this. Maybe CBHN. Maybe they have children who need dental care in the area. It's a good way of helping nonprofits have a little more exposure than they have. I have seen nonprofits do is they're very good at doing what they do. Sometimes you're not very good about telling others about it. I won't say it's a secret, but their marketing is not. They spend their efforts in helping people rather than patting themselves on the back. And yet some people need their back patted because they do excellent things.
Others need to hear about them, and they're worried, too busy doing the work and not focused on letting people know about the good things that they're doing.
And I hear people say, "Oh, I didn't know they did that." Right? It's good. That accomplishes spreading the word about what somebody does in the community.
Yeah.
And even in here a few weeks from now, we had a missionary coming in that works overseas, and we've invited a couple of churches to come and join us. And we'll have a good crowd that night to listen to what she does in the community that she serves in a completely different region of the world.
Right.
And that, I think that shows people that the Lord's work is much bigger than this church, this state, this country. It's bigger than all that. And we don't see it. We see our world, we see our environment. We kind of lose touch with the fact there's people doing the same thing we're doing on the other side of the lorry with populations that we know nothing about.
Yeah.
We don't know very little about. So that
We always stay out of our bubble, our little comfort zone, so we don't expand or creatures of habit.
I've heard that the only thing it really wants to change is a baby.
Kids, as they grow up, they will be adults as quick as they can.
Yeah.
When you go adult, you're like, that should have been a kid longer. No, I mean, you guys are doing some great things. I'm glad Justin connected us together. But how did you get into ministry? It wasn't your calling when you came here. You said you were retiring. Now you're a pastor in this amazing church right here.
Well, I love research. I love to read. I like to investigate things. So theology, although I've never been to seminary, I guess you might say I've self-trained to myself. And, my college and postgraduate degrees taught me how to do all of that. And so I just applied those same skills to Christianity and really enjoy the digging into things. And that keeps my mind sharp. I think probably I get a lot more out of the church than the church gets from me, because it's beneficial to me to keep active, to keep my mind working, to do something I really enjoy. Some people say, you're still working. I'm not working.
Right.
I've heard that if you do something you enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This has probably been the most fulfilling part of life, although I've had a tremendous professional career. This is probably the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life.
And that's amazing. That's a good testament to the work where you come from. Like, I think, especially nowadays and age, and back in the early stage of Christianity, there wasn't theology. There wasn't the training of the Bible to go and become a minister. You bring the life lessons of how you grew up and building communities and working with businesses to bring that mindset to the church, which is a great asset.
Yes. I've toyed with the idea of doing seminary because everything's long distance now. You can do that.
Yeah.
But I just don't find the time now. And so time is very precious to me. And so I focus, first of all, on what I can do here. And someday maybe I'll do something different. I think maybe I have an advantage, if you want to call it that I speak a language that's not seminary because of my background. Served many years in healthcare and then again, a variety of professional careers and taught at college and master's level courses and things of that nature. So I have a vocabulary that represents that.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of people hear that. I mean, I know what critical pathway is. So I'll use that terminology, and there's a lot of people that say, oh, yeah, I know what that is. Yeah, that's not something you learn in seminary. Right? And yet seminary is a vital part of the training of many ministers. And I applaud people who have the opportunity to go and to learn and to take that learning into their ministry careers. It's a great pathway. It is.
Yeah.
It's just not a pathway. Not able to I guess, jump in. I mean, John is a minister.
Yeah.
And is well trained and a super, super guy and great speaker. And, his movement through ministry is different than mine. Not better or worse, but different than mine.
Yeah. And I mean, again, that you said you can speak differently to and connect more with people because your pathway was different. I think that's just a testament of how God used you through your path to get to where you are today.
I see a lot. I think if you look at our congregation, many of them are in that time of life where they're ending their careers or have ended their careers. And because we have an older congregation, half of it probably is over 55. if not more. And many of them have second homes here. They have professional background. As I said, this area is that, or you're in your real estate or development business, right? Yeah. And so they're comfortable. In fact, I've known some of them before they came here. And so there's a comfort level there of our background.
Yeah. That's good. So what is the plans for the next 5 years? Do you see as you map this out and other work that you're involved in now?
Well, a dream come true, if you get dreams to come true, would be a multi-purpose building that would be able to serve this community beyond the church's need. My son-in-law he works for J.P. Hunt, but in his spare time, he works with a disaster relief team. And because of that, I've been exposed to the disaster relief teams, probably one of the greatest kept secrets in the world, people who actually go and help people after disaster. And I look at where we live and I realize that it's not if, it's when we need those services. And I think a multi-purpose building that would serve the needs of the chapel itself, the basketball courts, the meeting rooms, and so on and so on, kitchens and all. If it was designed in a way that had capacity to feed people, that in a crisis and without you need things like just a meal a day, showers for people to come and refresh themselves. A way to, I'm not saying a disaster relief location, but a building that could provide some of that to the community after a need like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. The stress of what's going on. Yeah.
And I think that came to my mind more than anything when Blackville hit Panama City. Right. And we have people leave this chapel every day going over to help people. And people would bring water, they'd bring clothing, they'd bring, you name it, they'd bring it here. And people would come here, pick it up, and take it over there. We had what we call the chainsaw crew. Yeah. We were one of many, but you saw a community that needed that kind of support. And it would be good if our community needed that support, that we had at least a way to provide some of that care to our local community.
Amazing how feet to be able to put in the next few years.
That's a dream. Yeah. And Lord willing, adults.
Then you even have members in your congregation that come from the Panama City area.
We do. Right. So our worship leader comes from there. Bill Thompson, who has a band, and he performs Panama City all the way over here and all the way over here. It's not that far. And he drives from Windhaven. We have people that drive from Definiac Springs and Freeport and around. However, they were exposed to what we do. They like what we do, and they drive to experience that. And a lot of them say, the drive is not that bad. Right. You don't have the competition for fresh roads like on Saturday.
Especially during spring break time like now or tourist season, you stay out for on Saturday.
Yeah. Spring break is a challenge for us. And yet, you have to accept the fact that that's a big part of our economy. Right. I'm not from here. I chose to live here. And I'm so thankful that people welcomed us here. Yeah. Keep in mind that we can't close the borders. Right. So we have to have tourism.
Changed the 25 years that you've been here until now I've been here, but we can't change the area. This amazing place.
And when you talk about tourism, I guess the 80-20 rule applies to everything. Most people come here to vacation to enjoy that time. They're not a hazard to the community. Right. It's that small group that sometimes act out that people label everybody else from.
I think that you come up with a good point that we do in today's society is we take the worst piece, put a microscope on it, and focus on that versus the 80-90% of everything else that's amazing.
We have our Western culture has a negativity bias. Yeah. And it's interesting that if something goes wrong in our life, whatever it might be, we have a tendency to tell 10 people plus.
Right.
If something good happens, we'll tell 2 or 3 people about it. I mean, I came in this morning and flicked the light switch on. If it hadn't turned on, I would have responded much differently.
Right.
I turned it on. Did I call the electric company and say thanks? No. So that negativity bias is pretty heavy. And we take a small group and label everybody else with it.
If you have free time, you should try to just call Choco.
They probably would not have responded. All that here's complaints.
Might make your day if you do that.
Yeah, both businesses have complaint departments, blessing departments.
I think that's a new strategy we need to implement this year. Blessing departments.
It's always good to tell someone you appreciate what they do.
That's great.
And it's an encouragement to them to continue doing good things.
And like you say, one positive thing may change a person's whole day.
Yeah. I was walking down Surgery Hall years ago. There was a physician who had been known to be somewhat on the negative side of things. And I was whistling. And I was having a break that day. And I was walking down the hall and he just came out of surgery. And, boy, you're in a good mood. I said, it beats the alternative. And he spoke back in about a week or so later. He came up and said, I thought about what you said. And I don't know what he did about it.
Right.
I think that just the word that beats the alternative sent the message, that's my choice. I choose to have that tone today. I choose to look at things half full, not empty. I'm more of a positive individual than a negative individual. I hope it is.
Yeah.
I hope that comes across in my life.
That was the first time we met until now. The story's like you're definitely a positive person.
Yeah, it beats the alternative.
That's right. Like you're slowing you down for the rest of the
That's right.
So I look at these amazing pictures that you have in here from the Native American culture in here. How did all these have meaning to you?
My grandmother was on the original Cherokee rolls in Indian Territory, which now is Oklahoma. So our family has a Native American background. It's depleted every generation after generation. But anyway, I've always had a soft spot in my heart for the Native Americans and the challenges that they have faced and the mistreatment it's been horrible to use that term. So I've always enjoyed the Native American art and the artists, regardless of what venue they use. And so I'm always on the look for something different. Yeah. And how someone expresses themselves. And you see in a lot of the art that I've collected, but you see the Christian theme run through it.
Right.
You can just see that had influence on the artist when they put together their work. I mean, this 3D set here, if you look at it, one says the vision, one says the journey, and one says the arrival. Well, that's Christian symbolism, and I just enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm passionate too. Everybody, you can see the vision and the journey on there. As most of us Christians relate to your straight to the end, to the arrival.
Yeah, and that's why I think in the art that I collect, if I see the Christian symbolism in it, I'm drawn more to that, and not to say I don't appreciate others, but that sort of catches my attention when somebody does that. This that's behind us, the Harris did this behind us. He's talking about two sides of things. Yeah, it's very interesting that we do have two sides. And maybe it's a positive, negative, maybe whatever it is. We have a battle within ourselves. The ego trying to guide us, and sometimes we have to push it on the side. In fact, somebody told me that a good acronym for ego was edging God out. And that's interesting. Our ego can do that to us. Yeah, you really can.
Yeah, it definitely can, because you feel like you can push it out that you have it all under control.
Right. That's true.
And that's a great acronym. I'll remember that now. So it's been great spending time with you this morning. I always end the podcast here with what is one of the biggest, and it can't be one, but one big issue or challenge that you think that the Panhandle is facing that we need to focus on.
Well, right off my mind comes the need for workers. The service industry drives this area. And I know that some organizations go outside the United States to bring individuals in, and they house them and support them in that way. But we have greater need than we have supply. Yeah. And we have people that do housekeeping as a living that drive from Alabama down here to southern Walton County. But yeah, we have, because land is so valuable here and property and houses are so valuable here, a lot of the entry-level people or service industry just do not have finances to live here. So we've created a long-distance workforce. And if you've ever driven down 331 in the morning, the people coming to work, and we've not made it easy for them. Now, how to fix that? That's above my pay grade, but that's a big need we have is a service industry, and how do we support that, and how do we grow that to the benefit not only of those who use the services, but to those who provide it. Right. It's probably one of the things that I see. Transportation is another. We have an east-west corridor, the 98. Right. If that goes down, we're stuck. Yeah. And I don't know if there is an answer to that or not, but I see that as yesterday coming here from my house, which is usually a 15-minute drive, was an hour. Yeah. Nah. Because spring break's back and forth. Need to talk to some transportation expert, but that's either too many people or not enough roads or a combination of both. And and that doesn't help the tourist industry, because if I'm a tourist and I come here and I'm going to spend the day and I want to go eat, and it takes me 2 hours to get there, I may not come back next year. Right. So there's an ebb and flow of needs in the community that those are a couple of examples. Yeah, and those are two main ones that I don't know if we have the exact answer on how to fix or correct yet, but it does go with the main thing of being infrastructure, where we are, where some people say you're developing, some people say we're not, but you have to make sure the infrastructure is always accounted for when we do that, because and just added red lights and the intersection doesn't solve the issue. It doesn't. I mean, if you can't supply water, $1 million house is worthless. Right. So, the infrastructure is necessary to support everything that happens above it. Yeah. And like I say, I hope we have individuals in the right spot to make sure that continues into the future, because I enjoy living here. Great place to live. It is one of the amazing places to live. It's a little private bubble that everyone's found. Yes, everybody's heard about it, country songs and phone magazines, and it's everywhere. In fact, we travel quite a bit, and it's not uncommon being another part of the United States, and they go, "Where are you from?" Well, I live between Panama City and Destin in Florida. I know where that is. Yeah. You're surprised when you're in Montana and hear someone say that. Right. Yeah. We're well known beyond our borders. Yeah. You described exactly how I do. I tell people where I'm from. I live between Santa Rosa Beach and Destin, because if I say Santa Rosa, they have no idea. They're like, where is that? And then when you say between Panama City and Destin, or you say 38, they're like, oh, now I know. But no one knows that it's called Santa Rosa Beach at all. And then if you say Port Washington, then they're even more confused of where that really is. Right. It's a great place to be. Well, the people who have been here, local people from here, and there's very few of them, but I've been privileged to meet some of them. It's interesting to hear them talk about the transition they have seen in South Walton to the current. We live on an island, and from a time when people would bring their cattle and just let them run wild here and then port them back across the water, worthless land from boats and that sense, and see to where we are now. It's a tremendous change in the 70 years how it's been here. In fact, the first time Cindy and I came here, all of 38 was not paved. So sand. Yeah. You say, what? Now you can't drive down 38 with so many people. Tremendous change. And I think it's going to get more change before. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I'm curious as if, is there another spot that exists like this area, 70 years ago.
Right.
And it's so, what's it going to be in 70 years? If you go down the coast of Florida, is there another place like this? Or is it being populated to resemble each other all the way around the coast? Because we've got a long coast in Florida.
Yeah, good question. So maybe it's to talk about some of the real estate guys around here that may be able to help you identify those areas.
Well, let me know. I might want to move.
So Charles, thanks for today. I enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure our listeners will as well.
Well, thank you, and good luck to you and your podcast and your professional career in this